But my sister and girlfriend, who swore to love me for life, still had no idea. They were still waiting for my 100th apology to the poor student. They had decided to come clean on the day I apologized, that every time they favored him, it was only to repay him for saving their lives. 1 month after I started my job, they happily cooked and waited for me to come home. Then they would tell me they finally would not have to favor anyone anymore, and we could live happily as before. Instead, they received news of my death. At the martyrs' cemetery, rows of gravestones stood in the sunlight, solemn and dignified. I set down my flowers and looked at my parents in their black and white photograph. Hot tears welled in my eyes. Captain Z of the Huchang Criminal Police Brigade looked at his fallen comrade's orphan son. He looked far less kind than usual, his tone cold and grave. Yunmo, are you sure you want to take up your parents' badge numbers? Your parents were heroes who died for their country. They died without regrets. But as parents, they would never have wanted you to walk this path too. Besides, if your sister and girlfriend find out, they will never agree. Uncle Z, I understand better than anyone that the country comes first, before one's own family. You know that. I have always looked up to my parents. I vowed to contribute to my country and society. You even helped me choose my police academy application. You understand me best. Do you not? As I said this, my voice was firm, my face set with unshakable resolve. After a long silence, Captain Z sighed. Since your mind is made up, I will not try to stop you. Narcotics officers must live under assumed identities. You can no longer use any of your current identities. I will quickly arrange a staged death. This identity of yours will vanish from the world completely. Get ready first, and wait for my notice. When my wish was granted, a crushing weight lifted from my heart. I bowed to this beloved elder, and slowly walked away. When I got home, the usually quiet living room was filled with an especially heavy atmosphere. My sister, Chan, and my girlfriend, Kai, sat on the sofa, both looking utterly grim. Beside them, Fang Yuan, with his short hair a tangled bird's nest, was hoarsely accusing me. President Gur, miss me. Please do not blame Mr. Gur. I know, he did not mean to cut my hair like this. It is all my fault. I made him angry, so he took all his anger out on me. Seeing his pitiful, self-effacing act, the anger in Kai's eyes deepened, and her voice burned with fury. You do not need to make excuses for him. Chan, and I know his spoiled rich boy temper better than anyone. Do not worry. Today, we will get justice for you. Chan agreed, then shot me a cold look. Her voice was stern. Yunmo, look at what you have done. Apologize to Fang Yuan now. I saw the flash of smugness on Fang Yuan's face. My face darkened, but I said nothing. I had not even seen Fang Yuan these past few days. How could I have suddenly cut his hair? Clearly, this was another frame-up he had staged himself. But I did not explain, because I knew that no matter how clumsy the accusation, as long as Fang Yuan said it, my sister and girlfriend would believe him, just as I expected. Seeing my indifferent expression, Chan grew even angrier. You have become completely out of control. Kai, have someone restrain him. I stared at them both in disbelief. Before I could say anything, Kai had someone seize me, leaving me unable to move. Chan picked up a pair of scissors and mercilessly cut off my hair with one sharp snip. Watching my hair fall to the floor, I felt a sudden stab in my heart. I remembered my childhood. Chan clumsily combing my hair, telling me that, as my sister, she would always take good care of me. After our parents died in the line of duty, only my sister and I remained in the Gur family. My sister, Chan, built her career from scratch, raising me all by herself and loving me with everything she had. When I was 15, she introduced me to her best friend, Kai. Kai fell in love with me at first sight. She waited until I came of age, then could not wait to confess. She became my girlfriend. From then on, I had the women who loved me unconditionally. They indulged me in everything, but fearing I would follow in my parents' footsteps, they would not let me attend the police academy. Yet I secretly applied to the police academy behind their backs. I hid it from them for 4 years while I studied there, dreaming only of one day taking up my parents' badge numbers. Now I had graduated, yet I still did not know how to tell them I was joining the force. Until Fang Yuan appeared, I realized there was no longer any need to say goodbye to them. Fang Yuan was a needy student sponsored by the Gur group. Every year, the group sponsored hundreds, even thousands of needy students. But Fang Yuan was the only one who came to thank us in person. More than that, he found a way to get a job at the Gur group and grew ever closer to Chan and Kai. The moment I first saw Fang Yuan, I disliked him. I thought he was deeply calculating. Everything Fang Yuan did afterward proved me right. He not only loved playing the victim, but repeatedly framed me for hurting him. Even during that devastating earthquake a year ago, he took credit for what I had done. Chan and Kai both believed that Fang Yuan had risked his life to save them. That was why they had showered him with care ever since. But when I saved them, my legs were scraped raw and bloody by chunks of mud, and it was my fingers that stones had crushed and broken. But after getting them out, I collapsed from exhaustion. Fang Yuan ultimately stole the credit. After being falsely accused again and again, my heart had long gone cold, so I never planned to tell them I was taking up my parents' badge numbers. Still, I never imagined that for Fang Yuan and a few casual accusations from him, they would coldly cut off my hair. After my hair fell to the floor, Mikai let go of me. Guerchan tossed aside the scissors. Then they both coaxed Fang Yuan to go eat. Neither looked at me again. Watching them walk away, I collapsed amid the scattered locks of hair and gave a desolate smile. The next morning, when I opened my door, Guerchan and Mikai were both waiting outside. They watched me with furrowed brows. Yunmo, do not throw these spoiled tantrums again. Fang Yuan is the savior of our Gur family. You need to treat him well. You have always been the one we love most. We are only good to him to repay his kindness. Do not be jealous for no reason. Over the past year, I had grown sick of hearing those words. My thin lips moved slightly as I spoke a number. 95. The two women exchanged a look and spoke in unison. What do you mean? 95. I looked at them quietly. My voice as still as dead water. Guerchan, Mikai. This is the 95th time you have hurt me for Fang Yuan. When it reaches 100, the person you claim to love most will be dead for good. Mikai and Guerchan's faces instantly darkened. Yunmo, do not make such ominous jokes. I gave a quiet laugh, my tone utterly sincere. I am not joking. Guerchan still thought I was throwing a tantrum. She frowned slightly. Mikai and I have kept you perfectly safe. Who would dare touch you? What could possibly happen? Where were you yesterday? Why did you come home so late? Mikai sensed something was wrong and pressed for answers. Just as I was about to speak, a ringing phone interrupted me. Seeing it was Fang Yuan calling, Guerchan hurriedly answered. Soon, his aggrieved voice came through. President Gur, I have tried every way to please Mr. Gur, but he still cannot stand me. If that is the case, then I can only leave. I have left my resignation letter on your desk. I am going back home today. Goodbye. At that, neither woman could sit still. They rushed off to the company after him, watching them vanish hurriedly through the door. I gave a self-mocking smile and silently returned to my room. I sorted and packed up everything I owned, then threw it all into the trash. Piece by piece, the gifts Guerchan had bought me, the matching items Mikai had bought us, the photos of the three of us together. I kept none of it. After working all day, by evening, Guerchan and Mikai returned with Fang Yuan. The moment they saw me, their faces turned cold as they berated me. Yunmo, why did you send someone to throw pain at Fang Yuan's home? He has nowhere to live. You pushed him to the point of quitting. If Mikai and I had not done everything we could to persuade him, he would have gone home for good. How far are you going to take this? You used to be so obedient and sensible. Why have you become so jealous since Fang Yuan appeared? Was I the one who had changed? Or was it them? Looking at their indignant expressions, my eyes filled with profound weariness. I no longer wanted to offer pointless explanations, but to them, my silence was an admission. Holding back her anger, Guerchan said coldly, Fang Yuan's house is unlivable because of you. He will be staying at our house for a while. You caused this. Your room is the best one. As punishment, you will give it to Fang Yuan. I glanced at him, with no desire to argue. I simply placed the key on the table, without hesitation. Fine. I was leaving anyway. Then Mikai frowned and said, Fang Yuan is allergic to pollen. There cannot be any fresh flowers in this house from now on. I looked at her as well, then called for the housekeeper. I told her to remove the entire rose garden out back overnight. Every last rose bush. Back then, because I loved roses, Mikai had planted that vast garden for me. Now that I intended to break up with her, those tokens of our love were meant to be removed anyway. After I had done all that, they were still not satisfied. They continued. Fang Yuan is a light sleeper. He cannot stand any noise. Meow Meow is too noisy. Do not let her out anymore. Meow Meow was the cat they had given me to cheer me up. It had kept me company through so many years. 2 hours later, staff from a pet care service came to the house. I sent away the cat I had raised for 5 years. Seeing how I yielded to their every demand, Mikai and Guerchan both sensed something was off. I gave no explanation. I went upstairs alone. Looking at my bare new room, I inexplicably felt relieved. I would be leaving soon anyway. These things needed clearing out. I did not want to leave behind a trace of myself. Late that night, relentless knocking shattered the silence. When I opened the door, woken by the noise, I saw Fang Yuan. He raised his hand, displaying the limited edition designer watch on his wrist. His face was full of smug delight. Yunmo, Guerchan gave me this morning, but I do not know much about brands. What do you think of the style? How much do you think it is worth? While I waited to leave, I wanted nothing to do with him. So, when I opened the door and saw him, I immediately meant to close it again, but that watch made my pupils constrict. It was the last keepsake our parents had left my sister and me. Why would Guerchan give it to an outsider? How could she possibly give you that watch? Give it back. My expression changed completely. Instinctively, I tried to take the watch back. Seeing that I had taken the bait, Fang Yuan smiled in triumph and turned to run. I chased after him. Just as I was about to call out, he looked at me with a smug smile. Then he spread his arms and threw himself down the stairs. He hit the floor with a loud bang. The crash startled Mikai and Guo-chan, who were in the study, discussing work. Seeing Fang Yuan lying in a pool of blood, barely conscious, both were horrified. Mikai raced downstairs and gathered him into her arms. Fang Yuan, wake up! Wake up! Guo-chan grabbed my hand. She demanded harshly. I knew you were only pretending to behave yesterday. The moment we were not around, you found ways to bully Fang Yuan. Yunmo, you have disappointed me beyond words. Fang Yuan was seriously injured. There was no time to waste. They hurriedly drove him to the hospital. Before leaving, they forcibly dragged me along, demanding that I apologize to Fang Yuan immediately. Not long after Fang Yuan was wheeled into surgery, a nurse rushed anxiously out of the operating room. The patient has lost too much blood. Who has rhesus-negative blood? Almost instantly, Guo-chan and Mikai seized my hands, anger churning inside me. I violently shook them off. I sneered. Why should I give him my blood? His fall was staged. Both women were furious. Guo-chan took off the watch and held it high. Her voice was threatening. Yunmo, if you will not do it, I will smash this watch. Consider it your apology to Fang Yuan. If you refuse, and something happens to Fang Yuan, we will call off the engagement. They spoke in unison, venting their fury over a man who had staged it all. I felt as if I had been struck by lightning. My chest felt clogged with suffocating anguish, with no release in sight. The pain nearly made me burst apart. I stared fixedly at Guo-chan and choked out, so you really gave him our parents' keepsake? Then I looked at Mikai, my eyes so red they were frightening. So in your heart, all the years we have shared mean less than Fang Yuan? My words left both women stunned. Before they could speak, I snatched the watch from Guo-chan's hand. Word by word, I said, remember this. This is the 96th time. In the end, they drew 600 milliliters of my blood at once. After resting for a long time, my legs were limp when I left the room, and I needed someone to support me. Guo-chan and Mikai still refused to let me leave. They would not be at ease until Fang Yuan woke up. Not until the next morning did I finally leave the hospital. Holding the railing, I slowly went down the stairs. At the intersection, I received a message from Fang Yuan. How does it feel to be falsely accused with no way to explain yourself? Yunmo, you will never beat me. They are not on your side. You must be devastated. Do not worry. I have prepared a surprise for you. Be sure to receive it. A surprise? Remembering all the pranks he had planned before, and schemes to frame me, my heart sank. I touched the needle mark on my arm. Just as I was about to hail a cab, a speeding car came straight at me. I had no time to dodge. My whole body flew several yards, like a kite with its string cut. Pain tore through every part of my body, making me feel as if I were being torn apart. My consciousness grew hazy. As I drifted into unconsciousness, I felt someone take me to the operating room. Voices around me blurred into a chaotic din. Fang Yuan had clearly woken up yesterday. He was perfectly fine now. Yet he kept claiming that this hurt, and that felt uncomfortable. As a result, President Gur and President Mi had reserved the whole hospital, calling every available surgeon to examine him. Now Yunmo had suddenly been in a car accident, and there was not even a doctor available to operate. What were we supposed to do? Hurry and ask them. See whether they can spare a doctor for the surgery. 10 minutes later, someone came running back, their voice filled with helplessness. They refused. They insist we transfer the injured man to another hospital and say they will cover every expense. Transfer him? He is this badly hurt. How could he survive the transfer? Is Yunmo's life the only life that matters? Do everyone else's lives mean nothing? The noise of the argument rang in my ears, yet I could no longer make out a word. My vision blurred with tears. In a daze, I seemed to see the past. Back then, even when I only had a cold or a slight fever, Guo-chan would be frantic with worry. She would call in doctor after doctor to examine me. Mikai would stay by my side every moment, taking every medicine alongside me, just to cheer me up. But that had all happened so very long ago. Now I stood at death's door, with no one beside me, not even a doctor. My eyelids grew heavy as lead. The willpower keeping me going slowly faded, before I slipped completely into unconsciousness. I could only leave behind one indistinct final sentence. The 97th time. When I woke, I saw faces full of guilt. Guo-chan tucked the blanket around me, her voice apologetic. Yunmo, I am sorry. We did not know you had been in an accident. Mikai brought over a cup of hot water, trying to give me a drink. The pain in her eyes was almost overflowing. You were fine when you left. How did you end up getting hit? Remembering the messages I received before the accident, my voice was hoarse when I spoke. I rasped, Fang Yuan? The implication was clear. Fang Yuan had done this. Guo-chan and Mikai's expressions froze. Their faces darkened instantly. Yunmo, how can you still slander Fang Yuan? He is just a young man from the mountains. How could he possibly plan something like this? Exactly. Fang Yuan is still lying in the hospital. When would he have had time to hurt you? Seeing how certain they were, I did not want to waste my breath. I closed my eyes, my voice heavy with exhaustion. I am tired. Please leave. They still wanted to explain, but seeing how pale I was, they finally swallowed their words. They left the hospital room one after the other. A few minutes later, the phone on my table rang. Yunmo, everything has been arranged on my end. We will leave in about a week. Understood. I will follow the organization's orders. I can leave at any time. Before I could finish speaking, the door was pushed open. Shan and Mikai entered with furrowed brows. They looked at me suspiciously. Leave. What do you mean? Where are you going? I calmly ended the call. I was asking about my discharge. Why did you come back? Mikai picked up the car keys she had left behind. She was about to ask more when a nurse rushed in and called them away. Shan, Mikai. Fang Yuan just vomited, watching them hurry away without pause. I smiled silently. Over the next few days, the two women rarely appeared. Even when they came by, they barely sat for a moment before finding an excuse to leave. I knew they were constantly taking care of Fang Yuan. After all, every day I received the photos and videos Fang Yuan sent me. Chan personally cooked chicken soup for him. Mikai cooled each spoonful before feeding him. The limited edition sneakers bought to cheer him up filled more than half the hospital room. I watched in silence and did not reply at all. Without saying goodbye to anyone, I left the hospital alone. I had just reached my front door and was entering the code when events suddenly stopped behind me. 5 masked men knocked me unconscious with a single blow. I had no idea how much time passed. When I opened my eyes again, I saw Fang Yuan. He tapped at the screen for a while. Then he looked at me arrogantly. Good. You are awake. I just texted Mikai and Chan, saying that you and I had been kidnapped together. Yunmo, guess which one of us they care about more? Hearing this, I stared steadily at Fang Yuan. I wanted to ask him why he kept repeating these tiresome tricks, but something was stuffed in my mouth, so I could make no sound beyond muffled groans. My body had not recovered yet, and I was even less able to break free of my restraints. A few minutes later, the kidnappers in the back seat bound Fang Yuan, the same way they had bound me. When the door opened, I saw raging water ahead, and several sports cars speeding toward us in the distance. After Chan and Mikai got out of the cars, Fang Yuan immediately put on a pitiful expression. The kidnappers brought out knives at just the right moment and held them against our throats. Did you bring the money? Mikai had someone throw more than a dozen cases onto the ground. Her face was grim. The 30 million you asked for is all here. Let them go. The kidnappers exchanged glances and snorted coldly. Our terms were 30 million for one person. It can save only one of them. You choose. In the biting wind, I watched the faces of the two women opposite me turn terribly grim. Chan was furious, but dared not provoke them. She could only suppress her anger and negotiate. Wait another half hour. The remaining 30 million will be delivered immediately. We cannot wait. Who knows whether you will call the police? Choose one now. We will throw the other into the river to feed the fish. Fang Yuan's sobs grew more desperate. He struggled without pause. One kidnapper removed his gag. Chan, Mikai, save me. I cannot swim. I do not want to die. Driven into a rage, Mikai and Chan kept negotiating. We will raise the offer to 100 million. Watching this tearful spectacle, I remained utterly calm. The kidnappers still refused. They even began counting down. Both women wore tortured expressions. Their eyes kept shifting between the bound Fang Yuan and me. When the countdown reached 3, more than half of both our bodies had been pushed over the river's edge. Fang Yuan screamed. Chan finally lost her composure. She shouted, "Save Fang Yuan first. He once saved us. We have to repay that debt first. Yunmo, trust your sister. I will definitely save you," Mikai declared resolutely. Fang Yuan cannot swim. Yunmo, do not worry. We will come save you right away. Seeing them too guilty to meet my eyes, the calm on my face finally broke. From the moment they hesitated, I had expected this outcome, but hearing them say it themselves now, I felt the last shred of hope in my heart finally severed. I could not help laughing. My eyes brimmed with endless sorrow. Once they had made their choice, Fang Yuan was shoved to the ground, and I was pushed off the high bridge. I watched both women run toward Fang Yuan and closed my eyes in despair. The cold wind sliced my skin like knives. There was no blood, yet it felt like I was being cut to pieces. Wave after wave of pain consumed every corner of my body, leaving me in unbearable agony. Countless images flashed through my mind. My sister clutching me and sobbing before our parents' graves after we lost them, swearing she would protect me forever. The day she confessed, holding a huge bouquet of roses and a love letter. My girlfriend promised to love me for life. Last New Year's, the three of us raised our glasses together, vowing to walk through many years side by side. And just like that, we went our separate ways. The icy river dragged me deeper and deeper. My consciousness faded. The strength slowly drained from my body. When I smelled the familiar scent of disinfectant, I knew I was back in the hospital. My entire body felt as if it had been torn apart. I forced my eyes open and met two concerned gazes. Yunmo, This is all your sister's fault. I should not have let you leave the hospital alone. If you want to blame anyone, blame your sister. Fang Yuan is an innocent victim. Yenmo, can you forgive me? After you fell into the water, we jumped in immediately. Fang Yuan cannot swim, and he once saved us. We could not take that risk, so we had no choice but to let you suffer. I promise you, there will never be a next time. I had heard those words so often. They made my ears numb. I did not vent my resentment, nor did I have the strength to question them. I murmured something, so softly, it was almost inaudible. After resting in the hospital for a day, I finally made it home safely. When I opened the door, I saw the living room covered in balloons, and remembered that it was my birthday. Mikai brought over a cake herself. Guerchan untied her apron. She had prepared a table full of dishes, celebrating with me as they had every year, but not a trace of happiness showed on my face. I merely sat at the table mechanically, listening to the birthday song, then blew out the candles. Just as I was about to make a wish, the front door burst open. Fang Yuan stood there, soaked to the bone. His eyes were red as he looked around the room. He spoke pitifully. So, you are celebrating Mr. Gu's birthday. I wanted to tell you something important, but since you are busy, I will not disturb you. With that, he ran out. The moment he finished speaking, both women stood without hesitation. With my heart already dead, I did not stop them. I simply closed my eyes and continued my wish. May Mikai and Guerchan be free of disaster and hardship from now on, and may they find no joy without me. That evening, I saw Fang Yuan's social media post. It included a photo from the hospital. 2 exceptional women were guarding him, one on either side. The caption read, "At just one word from me, you will drop everything to be with me." I calmly put away my phone and turned to go upstairs. The next second, the front door opened. Guerchan and Mikai both looked despondent, their faces drawn with exhaustion, as if something terrible had happened. Thinking of Fang Yuan's hospital social media post, a sense of dread suddenly flashed through me. Just as I feared, Guerchan walked over to me the next second. "Yenmo, Fang Yuan, he has cancer." Cancer. Yet I was not shocked to hear it. It was not because I was heartless. I had simply seen through every one of Fang Yuan's tricks. He was enjoying the devotion of 2 women. How could cancer suddenly appear now, since he wanted something? Sure enough, the next moment, I heard Guerchan continue. "During that earthquake years ago, Fang Yuan risked his life to save Mikai and me. That was how we survived. I have come to see him as my own younger brother. Now he has a terminal illness. His only wish is for Mikai to be with him at the end, to hold a fake wedding." For a moment, my mind went blank. My first instinct was to look at Mikai, who had been silent since she came in, without saying a word. "Yenmo," I agreed. Mikai said hoarsely. I replied evenly, "I understand. Saving a life is worth more than anything. Do as you wish." Seeing me agree so quickly, Guerchan and Mikai looked both surprised and delighted. Neither gave it much thought. They praised me a few times, then hurried away. I watched their retreating backs and gave a soft laugh. Can a wedding really be fake? But whether it was real or fake no longer mattered. I would be leaving soon. None of it had anything to do with me anymore. After a night of rushed preparations, the wedding began in the hotel ballroom, though it was supposedly fake. Both the scale and guests were the very best. I sat alone in a corner, enduring the prying looks from every direction, my face utterly calm. When the wedding began, I watched Guerchan take Fang Yuan's arm and slowly lead him onto the stage. She handed him over to Mikai. Amid the guest blessings and applause, the host calmly guided the ceremony along. I sat alone in the corner. A large flower stand blocked him from view. I did not know how much time passed. A burst of unrestrained laughter woke me. Yes, I forged a cancer diagnosis and paid off several doctors. They believed it. The voice gradually became clearer. The moment I opened my eyes, I locked eyes with Fang Yuan as he walked over. Fang Yuan instantly hung up. A flicker of panic crossed his face, but he quickly pretended nothing had happened. "What are you doing here? Did you hear something just now?" I glanced at him, my face cold and indifferent. I did not hear anything. And what if I did? Even if I told them, they would not believe me. After saying that, I ignored Fang Yuan's reaction, stood up, and left. Naturally, Fang Yuan did not believe me. He spent the entire day in a panic, yet never saw me expose him. That calm reaction only made him increasingly uneasy. He thought about it all night. In the end, he decided he could not sit and wait. The next day, while few people were home, he poured several bottles of beer across the hallway and set it on fire. Thick smoke began to rise. When the flames were at their fiercest, Fang Yuan called Mikai in tears. "Mikai, where are you? My bedroom is on fire. I cannot get out. Come save me." The smoke woke me as well. I called the fire department, then went to the bathroom and soaked a towel, covering my nose and mouth. I ran downstairs. As soon as I reached the stairs, I ran straight into Guerchan and Mikai as they rushed in. We met face to face, too frantic to notice me, my figure obscured by smoke. They ran upstairs like mad. The flames towered high, and beams kept falling. Neither of them retreated. They raced together toward the master bedroom at the far end. Several minutes later, I watched them rush out, shielding Fang Yuan. My fingers curled into fists. My bedroom was beside the stairs. Yet from start to finish, neither of them even looked at it. It was as if they had forgotten I was even in the house. Firefighters soon arrived and put out the blaze. They also determined the cause. Upon hearing the words deliberate arson, Fang Yuan, sobbing in Mikai's arms, lifted his red-rimmed eyes and looked at me in despair. Mr. Gur, I know my marriage to Mikai upset you, but I only wanted to fulfill my final wish. If you did not agree, we could have canceled the wedding. Why did you lock me in my room and try to burn me to death? At that moment, every shocked and confused gaze fell on me. My heart sank. I looked up, about to explain, when Gur-chan slapped me hard across the face. I thought you were merely jealous. I never imagined you had become so arrogant that you could commit something so vile. Yenmo, have you forgotten our parents' police uniforms? They taught us to be honorable people. How can you face them? A sharp slap rang out. My cheek turned scarlet. Every unspoken word froze on my lips. In 23 years, this was the first time Gur-chan had hit me. For an outsider, she struck me without hearing me out. I stared blankly at her. Emotions churned inside me, and my lips trembled. Mikai helped Fang Yuan to his feet. Her gaze toward me was full of disappointment. I planned this wedding from start to finish. For years, Fang Yuan has worried about your feelings. He urged me many times to forget the whole thing. I only held it after getting your consent. Why say one thing to our faces and do another behind our backs? Even if you were angry and wanted to settle scores, you should have taken it out on me, not a terminally ill patient. Facing Mikai and Gur-chan's rage, I could barely breathe. I opened my mouth and took a heavy breath, pulling my fraying reason back. The firefighters only found evidence of deliberate arson. They never said I started this fire. You heard only his side and decided I did it. Second, I know my parents were police officers. Yenmo, am an honorable man. I have nothing to be ashamed of before anyone. I would never commit such a vile act. Third, I do not care whether the wedding was real or fake. As for this so-called terminal illness, as I explained every word with conviction, Gur-chan and Mikai, blinded by rage, slowly calmed down. At the words terminal illness, Fang Yuan was terrified, fearing they would learn the truth. He swayed and fainted. The sudden turn threw both women into a panic. They no longer cared to hear my explanation. Before leaving, Gur-chan summoned the butler. Her voice was colder than winter frost. Lock the young master in Nanwan Villa until he apologizes to Fang Yuan. Without my permission, no one is to let him out. Watching them leave, I said only one thing. This was the 99th time I spent 5 days locked in the villa. I never took a step outside my room. Apart from 3 meals delivered to my door on time, no one came to see me. The days passed. Soon, the date I had set with Captain Z arrived. That morning, I was considering what forceful means to use to escape and rejoin the unit. Then a commotion suddenly rose from downstairs. Gur-chan and Mikai had returned with Fang Yuan. Before long, the door locked for days was opened. The 2 women entered, their faces still cold. But when they saw the fading handprint on my cheek, their tone finally softened. Fang Yuan has forgiven you and agreed not to pursue your wrongdoing. Do not ever do this again. Mikai and I can forgive your recklessness, but we cannot tolerate such evil acts. I said nothing. I turned and went downstairs. Fang Yuan was waiting in the living room. The moment he saw me, he spoke pitifully. Mr. Gur, I was at fault for what happened before. I apologize to you. At those words, Mikai and Gur-chan both frowned. Yenmo is the one who should apologize to you. Fang Yuan, you do not need to humble yourself like this. I ignored them. I changed my shoes and prepared to leave. Gur-chan was suddenly gripped by a bad feeling. She lunged forward and grabbed me. Where are you going? I turned to look at her. I gave a mocking smile. Today is our parents' death anniversary. Did you forget? The wind in the mountains was fierce, whipping my clothes with a loud rustle. I laid down the chrysanthemums in my hands. I knelt before the gravestones and knocked my forehead heavily against the ground several times, seeing blood seep from my forehead. Gur-chan and Mikai could not bear it. They hurriedly pulled me up. All right. Mom and Dad know how you feel. You did not need to bow until you were hurt. Take care of yourself. Your parents will be happy watching from heaven. Do not hurt yourself or anyone else again. Be good. Fang Yuan saw this. He knelt to, knocking his forehead until it bled. He let out a soft hiss. At once, both women let go of me and turned to shield him in their arms. Their eyes were full of concern. Yenmo should be the one paying respects. Fang Yuan, there was no need for you to kneel to. Fang Yuan blinked and squeezed out a few tears. I know Uncle and Aunt Gur were great heroes, and I know you see me as a younger brother. Mikai. In my heart, I am already part of the Gur family. That is why I had to kneel and pay my respects. Seeing how thoughtful he seemed, Gur-chan paused. When she looked at me again, her gaze had grown conflicted. Mikai sighed softly too. She bent down and brushed dust from his knees. When she saw more blood running from his forehead, she hurried down the mountain to get bandages. Gur-chan was heartbroken too, remembering there was antiseptic in the car. She quickly followed her down. Soon, Fang Yuan and I were the only ones left in the cemetery, with no one else around. Fang Yuan stopped pretending to be weak. He arrogantly began taunting me again. Yunmo, the two women who love you most. Now only listen to me. That must hurt terribly, does it not? What does it matter that you are the heir of a wealthy family? You still lost to me. I did not respond. Silently, I tossed the spirit paper into the brazier. In a low voice, I said, Mom, Dad, I have decided to carry on your mission. From now on, I will no longer exist in this world, but I believe you will understand my choice. With a bang, Fang Yuan kicked over the fiercely burning brazier. Sparks scattered everywhere. They burned red spots across my hands. I could not hold back any longer. I stepped forward and slapped him hard. Fang Yuan, are you out of your mind? I am warning you. Do not provoke me again. Otherwise, I will expose everything you have done. Fang Yuan clearly had not expected me to hit him. After his initial fury, he gave a cold laugh. Go ahead and expose me. Let me tell you, no matter what you say, they will not believe you. He was right about that. So this time, I will not say another word. I gave him a cold look and turned to leave. Fang Yuan chased after me. He seized my hand. Yunmo, do not be so cruel. Let me tell you, I hate that look on your face more than anything. So, what if you are the wealthier? Before long, your sister and your girlfriend will both be mine. If you do not believe me, just wait and see. I tried to shake him off, but Fang Yuan only gripped me tighter. As we struggled, we lost our footing. We both tumbled down the steep steps. I landed beneath him, my head slamming straight into the wall. Blood dripped down through my hair. Blinded by pain, my vision went dark. I reached toward the wound, but my fingers found only sticky blood, reeking of iron. The metallic smell filled the air. I had no strength left. I could only lie in the pool of blood, gasping for breath. When light gradually returned to my vision, I heard two anxious voices. Fang Yuan, how did you fall down the steps and get hurt? You are bleeding so much. Does it hurt badly? Do not be afraid. Your sister will take you to the hospital right away. Fang Yuan whimpered, repeatedly crying that it hurt. Huge tears rolled down his face. After you left, Mr. Gur blamed me for holding a wedding with Mikai. He said he would teach me a lesson, then pushed me down the steps. Hearing that, Mikai and Gur Chan's faces darkened terribly. They stared coldly at the person lying on the ground. They had reached their limit. Again and again. Yunmo, how long are you going to keep this up? Doing something like this before Uncle and Aunt Gu's graves? Are you not afraid they will see it? Yunmo, you have disappointed me beyond words. This is my final warning. If you hurt Fang Yuan so recklessly again, I, Gur Chan, will no longer consider you my brother. Watching them protect Fang Yuan, the last glimmer of light in my eyes went out. I looked at the crimson ground soaked in my blood. I forced a few words from my throat. In answer, for the 100th time, as you wish. The two women frowned. They did not understand what I meant, but they were worried about Fang Yuan's injury, so they did not press me. They supported Fang Yuan and left. Before leaving, they left only a heartless sentence echoing in the wind. Stay here and reflect on what you have done. When you finally understand, we will come back for you. Watching their retreating figures hurry away, I painfully shook my head. My voice was barely audible. I will never go back. Warm tears slid down my cheeks, then slowly dried in the wind. No trace of them remained. When the bleeding finally stopped, I finally regained some strength. I struggled down the mountain. Dark red blood left a long trail across the steps. A car was parked at the foot of the mountain. Captain Z, who had waited a long time, caught the scent of blood on me and was horrified. He hurried over to support me. What happened? I waved him off. My voice was hoarse. It is nothing. I just took a fall. I am faking my death today, right? Seeing no obvious wounds, Captain Z did not suspect a thing. He nodded. When he turned back to face me, his tone became utterly solemn. Comrade Yunmo, welcome to Operation Vow of White. From today onward, all records of your former identity will be erased. You will have no name, no identity, but you will be a hero admired by all. Police badge number 01 for 890 is officially reactivated. Salute. I slowly raised my hand and returned the salute. My eyes held a resolve as firm as mountains. Love unfulfilled. My resolve would never waver. The car door shut. Then a decoy body, dressed exactly like me, was thrown onto the road. A speeding truck dragged it along. Slowly, the truck crushed the body into mangled flesh. Not a patch of intact skin remained. After giving Fang Yuan an initial examination and confirming he was uninjured, Mikai and Gur Chan both breathed a sigh of relief. The doctor beside them studied the medical report, his voice full of confusion. If there are no wounds, why was there so much blood? Was anyone else injured at the scene? At those words, both women saw before them the image of me lying in a pool of blood. Their eyelids twitched, but the thought lasted only a moment. Fang Yuan's words quickly drove it away. After I fell, Mr. Gur threw a bag of plasma onto the ground and fell down as well. That is when all that blood was spilled. The doctor gave him a startled look. He was about to object, but then saw Gur Chan nod grimly. It was not the first time he had done something like this. Fang Yuan, do not worry. I will see that justice is done for you. Fang Yuan looked deeply moved. his eyes brimming with tears. Mikai gently rubbed the bruises on his body. She kept comforting him. After he fell asleep, the two women left the hospital room. The doctor waiting outside stopped them. Ladies, I examined the blood found on this patient. It is not plasma. It is human blood. I suggest you bring the other injured person in for an examination as soon as possible. It is best to prevent lasting complications. So much blood. It was not plasma. And it was not Fang Yuan's. Could it really have been Yunmo's? Both women's hearts sank. Just as they turned back to ask Fang Yuan what had happened, they heard the man who was supposedly asleep let out a laugh. His voice was filled with malicious delight. You have no idea how pathetic Yunmo looked, as I played him like a dog. A few days ago, I set that fire. He got slapped, then locked up for days. Today, he fell and cracked his head open. Yet no one cared about him. Do you think he will die in that cemetery? With a bang, the door was kicked open. Fang Yuan jolted in fright, and his phone crashed to the floor. He stared at the two women who had returned. His mind went blank. Sister Guerchan, Sister Mikai, why are you back? The two women's faces were dark as thunder. They strode toward him. Guerchan seized him by the collar and yanked him upright. She demanded, you set the fire. The blood was Yunmo's. Why did you lie to us? A storm gathered in Mikai's eyes. None of her former gentleness remained. We have treated you well. Why did you twist the truth and frame Yunmo? Under that crushing pressure, Fang Yuan panicked, yet he still pretended ignorance. What are you talking about? How could I possibly do something like that? Once suspicion takes root, it is like wild grass. It spreads wildly. Thinking back on everything that had happened lately, the two women exchanged a glance. Each saw doubt in the other's eyes. When she looked again at his pitiful face, Mikai felt no pity anymore. She called for a nurse. She arranged a full-body examination. The first department was oncology. Fang Yuan's face instantly turned deathly pale. He shook his head desperately, his voice full of resistance. Sister Mikai, I am perfectly healthy. There is no need for any tests. If you are worried about me, can we get checked at Harmony Hospital instead? His panic state instantly made Guerchan realize. She stared him down, nearly gritting her teeth. Isn't early-stage cancer the same wherever you get tested? Why must you go to Harmony Hospital? Can Huxley Hospital detect it? Fang Yuan's lips trembled uncontrollably, but he could not utter a word. Tears fell like beads from a broken string, but no one wiped them away anymore. The nurse forcibly took him into the examination room. Half an hour later, the test results came in. After a thorough examination, we have confirmed that Mr. Fang is in excellent health. There are no signs of cancer, though they had already suspected it. Hearing the result for certain still left Mikai and Guerchan struggling to breathe. Both women visibly crumpled. They collapsed helplessly into their chairs. The fire in their eyes had vanished. The cancer was fake. The bleeding came from his fall. The blood I lost had been personally drained by Fang Yuan. And the kidnapping, the car crash, the pain attack, the cut hair. Thinking back on everything that had happened this past year, the two women found it utterly absurd. Their voices were filled with confusion. If Fang Yuan had staged it all himself, then did we falsely accuse Yunmo? If it was all fabricated, why did Xing Yunmo never tell us? Guerchan stopped halfway through her words. Her voice abruptly died away. At the same time, they recalled every incident. Both fell silent. Whenever they arrived, they always happened to see Fang Yuan being scolded or hurt. Could there really be so many coincidences? At that thought, Mikai felt a sudden panic. She took out her phone and checked the time. It was already 5 in the afternoon. 5 hours had passed since they left the cemetery. During that time, I had not made a single call or sent a single message. Had he been badly hurt and fallen unconscious? Or was he truly angry and unwilling to speak to them? Guerchan grew nervous too. She hurriedly tried to contact me, but after more than a dozen calls, my phone remained switched off. When she placed the 28th call, Mikai could no longer sit still. She rose and headed for the garage. Guerchan followed. They drove back to the villa first. When the butler said he had not seen me all day, their hearts raced faster and faster. In a panic, they rushed to the cemetery. On the way, they received a call from the police. Miss Guer, we have arrested the kidnapping suspects. They have confessed. This kidnapping was ordered by someone named Fang Yuan. Can you come to the station to identify them now? This news was like a bolt from the blue to Mikai and Guerchan. They never imagined Fang Yuan could be this utterly deranged. They had given him so much trust and affection. Why would he do all this to turn them against each other? Guerchan slammed her fist against the steering wheel. Only one thought filled her mind. Go back to the hospital and make Fang Yuan pay. Mikai was furious too, but she retained a measure of reason. Find Yunmo first. It is freezing out there. I am worried about his safety. Guerchan nodded heavily. She accelerated. In the deep night, lights flashed outside the cemetery, bright as day. The wailing police sirens left Mikai and Guerchan deeply unsettled. When they saw the police tape, both women knew something had happened. They parked and sprinted toward the scene, desperate to learn what had happened before they could get close An officer stopped them. There has been a traffic accident ahead. The police are investigating. This road is temporarily closed. Please turn back. Every word was like a thunderclap, exploding beside Mikai and Gur Chan's ears. The two women stood frozen. Both wore looks of utter disbelief. Gur Chan swallowed hard. She struggled to speak. We are here looking for someone. My younger brother came to visit a grave today, but he has not come back. The officer keenly sensed something unusual. He took out his phone, opened the photo album, and showed them photos he had just taken at the scene. Was your brother wearing a black coat today? They saw the torn coat pieced together on the screen, with that familiar white chrysanthemum brooch on its chest. Gur Chan's vision went black. Mikai barely caught her own heart pounding like a drum. She clenched her hands tightly. Clinging to her last shred of hope, she pressed on. Where did you find this coat? Yunmo, where is he? The officer sighed heavily. He slowly shook his head. Your brother was in a traffic accident this afternoon. He has passed away. Please accept our condolences. How could that be? When they left the cemetery that afternoon, he had been perfectly fine. He had even spoken to them. Only half a day had passed. How could he be dead? No matter what. Mikai and Gur Chan could not accept it. Like madwomen, they tore through the police tape and charged inside. They wanted to deny this reality, but after they pushed through the crowd and lifted the white sheet, they saw the mangled pieces of flesh beneath it. At last, they completely broke down. The two women, once born to stand above others, wailed like children at that moment. Their heart-rending cries pierced the silent night, echoing through the mountains, and did not fade for a long time. When Mikai awoke to stark white walls, she felt as if she had had a nightmare. She had dreamed that I was dead, but Yunmo had been perfectly fine. How could something have happened to me? She kept shaking her head, trying to drive the thought from her mind. But when she turned and saw Gur Chan crouching in the corner, her face numb and vacant, it felt as though Mikai's throat had been seized. She could not draw breath. That dread she had failed to banish slowly took root and grew inside her. Her lips trembled, desperate to ask for confirmation that this was only a nightmare. The hospital room door opened. Several officers entered carrying a file. Miss Gur, according to the autopsy report, we have confirmed that the victim of this traffic accident was Mr. Yunmo. Both women looked up at once, their eyes red as they screamed relentlessly. Impossible. We saw Yunmo yesterday. He was fine. How could anything have happened to him? My parents are police officers. My brother attended the police academy. He is not like ordinary people. He cannot be dead. Afraid the women would faint again from the shock, the younger officers quickly stepped forward to comfort them. The officer in charge adjusted his glasses. Once they calmed down, he told them the details. We reviewed the cemetery surveillance footage. Mr. Yunmo fell from a height, and his head was bleeding. After you arrived, you only took the other man away. He lay alone in the cemetery for over an hour. He finally made his way down, but he had lost too much blood. He collapsed when he reached the road. A large truck ran him over and dragged him to his death. Just hearing this, Mikai and Gur Chan could imagine how horrific the scene had been. The police handed them several surveillance stills. They saw bloody trails covering the stairs and a figure unconscious on the road. Gur Chan broke into anguished sobs. Mikai crushed the photos in her grip. Her eyes had gone vacant. Over and over, she recalled yesterday at noon, when she helped Fang Yuan leave the cemetery, then looked back one final time. I was lying in a pool of blood, utterly motionless, silent and still. At that moment, she had considered turning back and taking me away, but she never turned around. And so, that parting, that glance, became our last. Despite the police's exhaustive search, only 60% of his remains were recovered. Reading the words, severely dragged and crushed, facial features unrecognizable, in the autopsy report, Mikai and Gur Chan felt their blood freeze. They could not imagine the suffering I endured before death. My bones had been broken one by one. My flesh had been scraped raw and crushed to pulp. Not a patch of skin remained intact. Piercing pain spread from their hearts through their bodies, leaving them unable to bear living. They had cried themselves dry these past days. They could not shed another tear. They could only claw desperately at their hands, already covered in bloody scratches, hoping pain might dull pain. Seeing their condition, the coroner sighed. He handed them a document. The deceased is severely disfigured. We recommend cremation as soon as possible, so he may rest in peace. Gur Chan's hand trembled as she signed her name in the family section. As she finished the final stroke, she felt the last of the strength that had carried her this far finally gave out. Beside her, Mikai stared blankly at the white sheet. There was no light in her eyes. The room was deathly silent. After an unknown time, the secretary entered. She reported softly, President Gur, we have investigated the matter you assigned. We showed photos of Mr. Fang and Mr. Yunmo to the earthquake rescue organization. They told us Mr. Yunmo was the one who risked his life to save people back then. The rescue team believed no one had survived that area, but he insisted on digging through the rubble. He dug alone in the disaster zone for 2 days before rescuing you. He eventually collapsed from exhaustion and needed a long recovery. This news was like a blade driven into Mikai and Gur Chan's hearts. Both women jolted, all color drained from their haggard faces. The person who had saved their lives had never been Fang Yuan. It was the man they had always treated unfairly. The man they had hurt again and again. In an instant, their hearts felt seared by flames, tormented beyond measure. But the soul-shaking revelations did not end there. We also found the thugs who threw paint before. They confessed that Fang Yuan ordered it all. Even the earlier robbery and the harassment at the bar were acts they staged themselves. These belated truths, against their already tragic reality, were unbearably absurd and cruel. What they thought was repaying a favor was repaying kindness with cruelty, hurt by the people closest to him, the sister and girlfriend he trusted most. Again and again, how disappointed must he have been? How heartbroken. Gur Chan and Mikai dared not think any further. Guilt and regret crashed over them like towering waves, completely swallowing them whole. Before my body, they said those words for the first time. I am sorry. I am sorry. Your sister failed you. I watched you grow up. How could I suspect you of doing those things? You must hate me so much. I should not have left you at the cemetery. I caused you to die so horribly out there. Mom and Dad must be heartbroken, watching from above. That day, I should have taken you with me. You were the one in the most pain. How could I have left? I promised to care for you all my life. Yet I hurt you the most. I am sorry. I am so sorry. Her desperate sobs and pleas echoed through the room, but I would never answer them. My grave was chosen at Nanshan Cemetery. It was close to the Martyrs Cemetery, peaceful and secluded, with few visitors. On the day of my burial, Gur Chan cradled my urn, while Mikai held my portrait. They climbed the mountain through a light rain. Those attending the funeral, aside from a few members of the Gur family, the rest were my old classmates and friends. Seeing the photograph now in black and white, no one could believe it. A man who had been perfectly well. How could he suddenly be gone? The news of his death had come so suddenly, and everyone was heavy-hearted. They could not help asking what had happened. I saw Yunmo only a month ago. I invited him to my wedding in 2 months. He even promised he would come. How did he die in a car accident? Gur Chan, what exactly happened? We watched Yunmo grow up. Tell us, uncles, the truth. He was your own brother. He died far too young. As his sister, why have you not even arranged a memorial service? Faced with their questions and accusations, Gur Chan fell to her knees. She bowed deeply to her uncle several times. Her voice was thick with grief. It was me. I failed him as his sister. I am the one who killed Yunmo. If I had not stubbornly fought with him, without knowing the truth, this would not have happened. He would not have collapsed on that road and been struck by a vehicle. Overwhelmed by guilt, Mikai could no longer bear the pressure. She knelt before the headstone. I was wrong too. I let Yunmo down. I should not have believed Fang Yuan's side of the story. When he was suffering most, I stood aside and did nothing. I did not deserve to be his girlfriend. Listening to their grief-stricken confessions, everyone fell silent. The Gur family elders sighed. Their eyes held nothing but endless disappointment. Gur Chan, your parents died young. You raised Yunmo with your own hands. He was sensible and obedient from childhood. No matter what happened, he kept it to himself because he did not want you to worry. I thought that as his sister, you would understand your brother. How could you be so foolish? Yunmo was such a kind-hearted boy. For an outsider, you hurt him so deeply. Mikai, how did you become like this? Mikai and Gur Chan's faces slowly turned ashen. A fine rain drifted down. Mourners came and went. The sky gradually darkened, but the two women still refused to leave. Looking at the face fixed upon the headstone, Gur Chan was lost in a daze. That photograph had been taken when I was 18, an adulthood portrait they had taken themselves. Back then, Gur Chan's career was soaring. The young couple were deeply in love. The three of them moved into a new villa, looking forward to a happy future within reach. They thought all their suffering was over, and the rest of their lives would be smooth sailing. But only a few years passed, and it all became an unreachable illusion, and the ones who destroyed all that happiness were none other than themselves. If only they had stood firmly by my side. If only they had been more patient in finding the truth. If only they had cared for him more. Everything would have been different. But there are no ifs in this world, and no cure for regret. All those endless apologies and boundless guilt would build up in their hearts, becoming a pain they could never let go of. On Fang Yuan's 7th day in the psychiatric hospital, the torment had nearly driven him mad. He had not slept through a single night. Every time he woke, He faced abuse from everyone in the room. These patients forced rotten food into his mouth. They deliberately slammed his head against the wall. They cut his hands with sharp stones. Major wounds piled onto minor ones. New injuries covered old ones. Even his face was covered in countless burn blisters. Looking at that barely human face in the mirror, Fang Yuan was on the verge of collapse. While everyone in the room slept, he crept to the door and knocked, begging for help. But neither medical staff nor attendants did anything but ignore him as though he were invisible. No one here answered a madman's pleas, especially a madman their superiors had singled out for special attention. So even when Fang Yuan screamed himself hoarse, he received no response. At last, all hope left him. He collapsed to the floor. His once clear, bright eyes had turned bloodshot, clouded by exhaustion and despair. The weather was freezing. His exposed legs and feet quickly turned purple from cold. Pus seeped from wounds that had not yet healed. He heard footsteps gradually rising upstairs. The terror that had just faded flared back to life. They were awake. All of them. The nightmare was coming again. Fang Yuan curled up in the corner, his whole body trembling uncontrollably. Just as terror consumed him, two figures loomed over him. He looked up and saw two familiar faces. He clung to their legs and burst into tears. I know I was wrong. Sister Guerchan, Sister Mikai. I should not have harmed Mr. Yunmo. I promise you, this kind of thing will never happen again. Please, remember that I once saved you. Please, let me go. I will leave Hecheng tomorrow. I will never appear before you again. I swear. Seeing Fang Yuan again, they found him utterly repulsive. Mikai raised her leg and viciously kicked him. She showed him no mercy. Guerchan's gaze at him was colder than midwinter frost. She took out a key, weighing it in her hand. Her voice was ice cold. Want to leave? Fine. Answer a few questions. As long as you tell the truth, we will give you the key. But if you tell even one lie, you can spend the rest of your life here. Hearing that, a sliver of hope reignited in Fang Yuan's heart. I will talk. I will tell you everything. Just please let me go. We did everything we could for you. Why did you drive a wedge between us and Yunmo? Fang Yuan flinched. His first instinct was to lie. But when he saw their murderous glares, he did not dare make up another story. He laid bare what was truly in his heart. I was jealous that he had people who doted on him. I wanted to be like him too. A wealthy young heir with nothing to worry about because of that selfish desire. That selfish desire was what got me killed. Guerchan clenched her fist. Her nose stung, and she closed her eyes. You got everything you wanted. So why did you keep framing him again and again? I just felt insecure. I wanted proof that in your hearts, I mattered more than him. Whenever you had to choose between us, seeing you protect me was the happiest moment of my life. That was when I knew I deserved to be loved too. Every word was like an icy arrow, piercing Mikai and Guerchan's hearts. Those unbearable memories became a hurdle they could never overcome. The turmoil surging within them left them unable to stay calm. Before they lost control, they asked one final question. All this time, have you ever regretted what you did? Regret? At that word, confusion flashed through Fang Yuan's eyes. He did not understand. They both knew the truth already. So why ask such a pointless question? Would regret change anything? Fang Yuan did not think so, but driven by his instinct to survive, he still squeezed out to tears. Of course, I truly regret it. I should not have harmed Mr. Yunmo. He may not have treated me as well as you did, but you are lying. This time, Mikai finally saw through Fang Yuan's clumsy lie. Unable to endure it any longer, Mikai raised a fist and poured all the rage and pain in her heart onto Fang Yuan, punch after punch. His screams echoed endlessly through the long, dark corridor. Guerchan watched coldly, without saying a word. When Mikai finally stopped from exhaustion, Guerchan looked at the man beaten beyond recognition and threw the key in hand into the drain outside. Since you cannot be honest, stay here and wait to die. Watching his only way out disappear before his eyes, the dizzy Fang Yuan could no longer keep pretending. He struggled to his feet, his blood-smeared face twisted hideously. Why? Why should I stay here and be tortured while you get to live like royalty? Why should I regret anything? You were just too stupid. Such a simple little trick, and I used it so many times, yet you never saw through it. Ha! If you had not indulged me, how could I have framed him without restraint for every suffering he endured? You are just as guilty as I am. The brutal truth had been laid bare. Mikai and Guerchan both staggered back. They could barely breathe. They glared at him, their eyes blazing with fury, yet refused to accept it. You exploited our guilt and gratitude toward you. If it were not for you, how could we have wronged Yunmo? You are the real culprit, you lunatic. Had I known you were so venomous, I never would have helped you back then. Since you have no remorse, then wait for your reckoning. Things had come to this. Fang Yuan knew there was no turning things around. All fear left his heart. He burst into manic laughter. Karma. I have never believed in karma, even if it exists. Mikai, Guerchan, do you think you can escape it? I have no one. The worst that can happen is I die. But you? I curse everyone you love for all eternity, to know no peace in their next lives. Those deranged ravings fell upon Mikai and Guerchan's ears, like fuel on a fire, like salt ground into an open wound. They could no longer contain their grief and rage. They called in the staff and ordered them to make Fang Yuan suffer everything I had suffered. The man's screams rang through the air, but neither of their pain was eased. More than anyone, they understood that no matter how they repented, no matter how they took revenge, Yunmo would never return. They would never have a chance to make amends. The night swallowed their desolate, lonely figures whole. The car was silent. Only ragged breathing remained. Though they had left the psychiatric hospital, that curse upon everyone they loved, condemning them to no peace in their next lives, still echoed in their ears. Mikai closed her eyes. The hand hidden in her sleeve trembled uncontrollably. Guerchan covered her face, tears slipping through her fingers. Bone-deep agony crashed over them like a violent storm. They say time can dull pain, but for Mikai and Guerchan, those words meant nothing. As the days passed, all their memories of me, instead, through the long and agonizing passage of time, slowly grew clearer. The burned-down villa was rebuilt. They both moved back in. Every furnishing and ornament was restored to its place. New roses were planted in the garden. The kitten they had sent away was brought back too. Everything seemed unchanged, but everyone knew everything had changed. The boy who brewed tea by the brazier on the balcony while reading a book. The boy who, without fail every day, ran 5 kilometers in the yard. The one who made his sister and girlfriend loving breakfasts would never return, having lost the person who mattered most. The villa, once full of laughter, slowly became cold and empty. Mikai locked herself in her room and did not leave for months. Guerchan drank herself numb every day, never sober for long. The only time they occasionally saw each other was before my grave. There, they always stood in silence. Winter passed and spring returned. The little daisies on my grave withered, then bloomed again. On my 25th birthday, they sat at Nanshan all day before coming down. On the way back, Guerchan asked Mikai in a low voice, "I am going to visit Mom and Dad. Are you coming?" Mikai swallowed hard. Complex emotions flashed in her eyes. Every year, when the Gur siblings visited the martyrs' cemetery to honor their parents, she used to go with them. But ever since my death, whenever she thought of that cemetery, she felt trapped in a nightmare, unable to escape. That torn black coat and the white shroud, covering mangled flesh and bones, had become a shadow she could never shake. So she had never set foot there again. But for some reason today, she suddenly wanted to go there. So she gave a slight nod, her voice nearly inaudible. "Let us go. It is Yunmo's birthday today. Uncle and Annie would probably like some cake too." Looking at the cake with one slice missing, Guerchan's heart ached. She forced down her hidden pain and set off for the martyrs' cemetery. By the time they arrived, it was already 4:30. The staff, ready to finish work, looked impatient. They muttered quietly, "Why come to pay respects at this hour? There are so many strange people, one after another." Mikai lowered her eyes, her voice heavy. "We just came from Nanshan. We will come down as soon as we can. Sorry for the trouble." At the mention of Nanshan, the caretaker's face softened with sympathy. He said nothing more. One behind the other, they headed deeper into the cemetery. It was deep winter. Night fell early, and the light was dim. From far away, they both saw someone kneeling before a grave in tribute. Though they could not make out the person's face, both Mikai and Guerchan's hearts skipped a beat. They both thought the figure looked like Yunmo. The person they longed for day and night had appeared. Whether it was real or an illusion, it shook them both to the core. Unable to contain the surge of emotion, they quickened their pace and gave chase. The cemetery's towering trees blocked their view. Before long, they broke into a run. By the time they reached the grave, panting, the person had vanished. Only the chrysanthemums before the headstone remained to prove that what they had seen was not an illusion. Mikai and Guerchan exchanged a glance. Each saw certainty in the other's eyes. Without a word, they chased down the path on the other side. They ran all the way to the parking lot, but saw no one. Only one car stood alone at the entrance. Neither was willing to give up. They rushed over and knocked on the car door. Seconds later, the window rolled down, revealing a familiar face. The tiny hope they had just dared to feel was snuffed out again. Guerchan forced a faint smile. Choking back tears, she said, "Uncle Z, what are you doing here?" After dismissing the two of them with a few words, Captain Z looked at the person in the back seat and sighed. "The operation is over, though your identity is still classified. Guerchan is your biological sister. Are you really not going to see her and explain everything?" I gently shook my head, pulling up my hood. My voice betrayed no emotion. "I am already dead. The one alive now is Jiang Yichen. Let the people and things from my past stay in the past." Hearing that, Captain Z finally could not stop himself from asking, "What exactly happened between you, Guerchan and Mikai? How did things get so bad that you cut each other off for life? During the 2 years you were undercover, They truly believed you were dead. They have never emerged from their grief. I knew Captain Z meant well. He did not want me to lose my family because of my work. But as far as I was concerned, from the moment I was kidnapped 2 years ago, when Gurshan and Mikai both chose to save Fang Yuan, I no longer had a family. To me, my death was both an opportunity to fulfill my dream and a path to leave the past behind and be reborn. Over the past 2 years, my perilous, cautious life as an undercover agent left me no time to dwell on the past. Now, when I think back on those dark days, only faint, blurred impressions remain. Yet the lingering fear has never faded. So no matter what, I will never make the same mistake again. Uncle Z, the dead cannot come back to life. My identity concerns the entire task force's safety. It absolutely cannot be exposed. When the greater good is at stake, I cannot let emotion rule me. Besides, even if they knew I was alive, what would that change? Our job is to walk through minefields and forbidden territory. If one day I die in the line of duty, just like my parents, it would only bring them more grief. It is better to keep it hidden. There is everything to gain and nothing to lose. What I said, Captain Z understood better than anyone. He did not try to persuade me further. He handed me the keys to a car and house. Operation Sunshot has concluded, and your identity was never exposed. The higher-ups believe your cover still has value. They will not call you back to the uni. They have decided to let you remain undercover until you are needed again. These are the keys to the car and apartment assigned by the uni. Move in there for now. Keep a direct line of contact with me. I had already adjusted to frontline undercover work. I had no objection to it. After Captain Z drove me home, he gave me a few more instructions and left. With the keys in hand, I did not go home. Instead, I went to a convenience store first and bought plenty of daily necessities. When I came back out, a light rain had begun to fall. I had no umbrella. I headed back alone through the alley. The narrow alley entrance, empty when I arrived, now held to people. I did not even lift my eyes. Without looking aside, I walked between them. The instant we passed each other, Mikai, her face lined with weariness, reached out and gripped my shoulder. She was so nervous that even her voice trembled. Yunmo. Only then did I look up at her. My face was full of irritation and disgust. Who are you? Let go. Get out of my way. That unfamiliar tone and cold gaze made Mikai and Gurshan's hearts tremble, but they would not let go of even the slightest hope. They stubbornly refused to release me. I know it is you. Yunmo, it's me. Your sister. Do you not recognize me? Their agitation startled me. I dropped what I was carrying, then drove my elbow into them. The brute force sent them both staggering several steps back. I turned and ran. Both of them were stunned by what happened and instinctively followed. But when Mikai saw that face, so unlike the one in her memory, the words Mikai was about to blurt out caught in her throat. The sliver of hope that had just flared in her heart was utterly extinguished. Her eyes filled with confusion. Gurshan was equally disbelieving. Her instincts told her that the person at the cemetery had to be me. She could not possibly be mistaken. Yet the person they had pursued only had a similar build. His appearance and personality were both utterly unlike her brother's, as different as night and day. While the two stood frozen, the shop owner had already called the police. 10 minutes later, the police arrived and took all 4 of them to the station. With the police there, I did not hold back. With utter conviction, I vividly recounted what had happened that night. The moment I walked out of the convenience store today, these 2 thugs blocked my path. They insisted I was their younger brother and tried to take me away. I did not even have to think about it to know they were up to no good. Watching me wave my arms and jump around, Mikai and Gurshan's eyes gradually dimmed. They did not want to admit it, but they had no choice but to accept it. This man named Jiang Yichen was not Yunmo, even when Fang Yuan had falsely accused me in every way. No matter how hurt or angry I was, I would never have been this crude and rude, shouting at the top of my lungs, with no manners at all. A person's appearance can change, a voice can be disguised, but a person's character and temperament could never differ so drastically. I had no idea what they were thinking. After venting to my heart's content, I slammed my palm on the table. That is what happened. Officer, there are witnesses and statements, and there must be surveillance footage too. You have to stand up for me. The officer faithfully recorded every word, then turned to Mikai and Gurshan. What is your side of this? We went to pay our respects at a grave. We saw him making an offering, thought he was someone we knew, and followed to ask. It was only a misunderstanding. Hearing that, I became even more furious. I shot them a vicious glare. They followed me for so long. It was obviously a premeditated crime. These 2 are definitely up to no good. You have to detain them. The officer was getting fed up with my noise and motioned for silence. That finally calmed me down. He continued his questioning. So, you encountered each other at the cemetery. Which cemetery were you visiting? Were you paying respects to the same person? Mikai's eyes flickered. Her voice dropped considerably. We went to the Martyrs Cemetery to visit my parents. I still wore a reckless insolent expression. My tone was dismissive. The martyr's cemetery. My old man told me to visit a grave there before he died. I barely managed to find time to go, and they harassed me. My disrespectful tone stirred Mikai and Guerchan's anger. They both looked at me with dark expressions. I will say this again. It was not harassment. We simply mistook you for someone else. At Mikai's words, I clicked my tongue several times, my face full of contempt. Mistook me? You have got to be kidding. I do not know either of you. You grabbed me and kept calling me your brother. You cannot even recognize your own brother. Are you blind? Anyone unlucky enough to be your younger brother would be cursed for life. Those deeply offensive words completely enraged them. They both rose to their feet, their fists clenched tightly. Watch your mouth. Yunmo is nothing like a lowlife thug like you. Just as the two sides were about to start fighting, Captain Z finally arrived. He clarified that it had all been a misunderstanding. Out of respect for him, the police did not pursue the matter further. They waved everyone away. He led the three of us out of the station. I was still muttering nonstop. Why should they make light of this? They were obviously the female thugs. If you ask me, they should be arrested. Captain Z gave me a helpless look. His tone turned stern. Show mercy when you can. Since it has been explained as a misunderstanding, let it go. It is getting late. Go home. As he spoke, he hailed a cab and shoved me into it, when I still would not let it go. After watching the cab drive away, Captain Z turned to Mikai and Guerchan. With a warm smile, he said, Yichen is just childish. Please do not be angry with him. Seeing their parents' most trusted comrade, Uncle Z, who had looked after them since childhood, defend someone so foul-mouthed. Guerchan felt a flicker of suspicion. Who exactly is this man, Uncle Z? Why did you take him to my parents' graves? On his way there, Captain Z had already expected that question. He gave them the explanation he had prepared. Yichen's family has always made a living fishing. Before your parents died in the line of duty, they once saved Yichen's father's life. He never forgot their kindness, and has visited their graves every year. 2 years ago, his father died of a brain hemorrhage. Even on his deathbed, he kept talking about it. So Yichen promised to visit the graves once a year. Today, he happened to run into me, so I gave him a ride. His explanation was sound and detailed, and it sounded perfectly reasonable. Yet, for some reason, both of them found it strange. But what exactly felt wrong? They could not figure out. Their brows furrowed slightly. Captain Z did not want them digging any deeper, so he added a few more words. Yichen may be reckless, but he has a good heart. His family was poor. He barely had any schooling. His grandmother raised him from childhood, and in recent years, both his parents passed away. The boy has had it rough. For my sake, be the bigger people, and do not hold it against him. Hearing this, they remembered my equally tragic fate. Only then did the lingering anger in their hearts fade. They nodded silently. Captain Z knew whom they were thinking of. With a long sigh, he patted their shoulders. Yunmo has been gone for 2 years. The living have to move forward. Do not grieve too deeply. Up in heaven, Brother Gur and his wife are looking after him. He would not want you to keep tormenting yourselves either. Though they were meant as comfort, Mikai and Guerchan only felt more burdened. They raised their heads, gazing at the cloud-choked night sky, without a single star. Emotions churned in their eyes. If souls truly exist after death, if Gu's parents could see them hurting me again and again, would I be utterly disappointed? And Yunmo, who died so tragically in despair, would he never forgive them? In an instant, sorrow and pain surged like a tide, crashing into both their hearts. They did not know what to say. They could only turn and get into the car in silence. The entire drive was quiet. When they returned to the villa, they looked at the dark, unlit rooms, and both stood there, lost in thought. If Yunmo were still here, when he saw us come home, he would run to the balcony and greet us with a smile. Today was even his birthday, yet he would never eat another birthday cake. Mikai tossed and turned all night. In her mind, the image kept replaying. The figures she had seen at the martyr's cemetery. Her heart could not settle. Was that man really not Yunmo? Jiang Yichen. Jiang Yichen. She repeated the name until 6 in the morning. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, she got up and messaged her secretary. Dawn slowly broke outside. She went downstairs, hoping to take a walk and clear her head. The moment she stepped outside, she saw Guerchan standing in a corner. The two sleep-deprived women met each other's eyes. Guerchan casually asked, "Where are you going?" Mikai stood dazed for a moment. She did not know where she wanted to go. She only instinctively wanted to escape this prison full of memories. "I don't know. Maybe I'll get some air." With that, Mikai drove away. She wandered without direction. Her thoughts were a complete mess, and she did not know what she was thinking. When she finally came to herself, she realized she had returned to yesterday's alley. It was an old residential neighborhood. Small shops lined the streets. The breakfast stalls had opened early. Steam billowed from the buns and steamed rolls in the steamers. Through the mist, Mikai saw me. I wore a cap. I leisurely made my way downstairs. I casually tossed the trash into a bin, bought a basket of buns, and went back inside. The whole thing took less than 10 minutes. Yet Mikai stood frozen. Once I was gone, she got out of the car and followed me, as if compelled. As she passed the trash bin, she glanced at it and started to leave. After only 5 steps, her sluggish, exhausted mind suddenly clicked. She stepped back and saw a candle sticking out of an untied trash bag in the bin. Her gaze instantly froze. She picked it up and stared at it for a long while. Her muddled mind suddenly cleared. She woke Chan, who was still deeply asleep. The two hurried to the hospital, heading straight for the genetics department. During the half-day wait, every second became unbearable, fueled by adrenaline. Chen also contacted someone who might know Jiang Yichen's whereabouts. When Captain Z received word after work and arrived at the hospital, the test results had just come out. A red stamp confirmed they were not biologically related. The moment they saw those words, the final thread holding Mikai and Chan together snapped. Tears poured from their bloodshot eyes. Their bodies would not stop trembling. In a frenzy, they tore the report to shreds as scraps fluttered down like snow. A flicker of heartache crossed Captain Z's lowered eyes. The night I left, he sent someone to clear out that room, and that strand of hair was deliberately left behind by me, only to erase the last trace of doubt in their hearts. Though this result was unbearably painful for them, for the operation to proceed smoothly, every sacrifice was worth it. Strengthened by that conviction, his sorrow vanished in an instant. He quickly became that rational, calm captain of the Criminal Investigation Unit again. He went over and restated the facts. Chan, Mikai Yunmo died 2 years ago. You too must not cling to an imagined possibility. Try to move on. That steady, forceful voice offered Mikai and Chan no comfort at all. Better than anyone, they knew they could not move on. Their world, swallowed by darkness, would never see dawn again, and the moon had long since fallen.